OJHA campus. Today we will be studying recognition of normal and abnormal hepatobiliary structures. So lecture objective that we want to attain today after the lecture is to be familiar with radiological anatomy and distinguish normal pictures, to be able to sort investigations according to indications and priorities. So what you need to know is what investigation should you prescribe for a particular indication. That is the basic thing an MBBS student should know. So today we will focus on that. Lecture overview, methods of investigation, radiological anatomy, indications, precautions, and contraindications of each procedure, and then the radiological features of few common diseases. So this is the basic anatomy that you must have done of hepatobiliary system. We can see the liver and then right and left hepatic branches of the biliary channels, which then make common hepatic duct, which when joined by cystic duct makes up common bile duct, which drains into the ampulla, and then the bile drains into the duodenum. This is the basic anatomical structure of biliary channels. So today we will be concentrating on this anatomy. What are the methods of investigation to investigate the liver? Liver, the first and foremost investigation that we go for is ultrasound. And then for further detailed evaluation, CT scan and MRI can be performed. And we want to further investigate the vascular anatomy, then we can go for CT angiography, DSA or MRI. But today we will be concentrating more on the ultrasound, CT and MRI. These are the basic investigations that usually are prescribed. What are the methods of investigation of the biliary system? Plain X-rays can give you some hints or signs, but this is not the primary imaging modality for biliary system. Primary imaging modality is ultrasound. The first thing you are prescribed to a patient that you think of abnormal biliary system, you ask for ultrasound. Then for further investigation, we can go for CT, MRI, and then ERCP, PTC, and post-operative T2 cholangiography, operative cholangiography, and radionuclide imaging. Today, we will not be discussing the last three because these are specialized investigations. We will concentrate on the above seven. Plain radiographs. Plain radiographs are not the imaging that you prescribe usually, but incidentally, you can find findings on the plain radiograph related to biliary system. Like you can see gallstones, which are only 10 to 15% of gallstones are calcified enough to be seen on plain radiograph. Slimy bile can be seen. Mural calcifications of the gallbladder can be seen. Mural gas and gas in the biliary tree can be seen. This is how you see calcified calculi on the plain radiograph. The first thing is, this is how you see emphysematous cholecystitis, that is air within the gallbladder on a plain radiograph. Again, porcelain gallbladder, calcification in the wall of the gallbladder seen on the plain radiograph. Again, this is not the modality that we usually prescribe. The basic modality that is prescribed for hepatobiliary structures is ultrasound. What are the clinical indications for ultrasound? Any patient coming to you with right upper quadrant pain, jaundice, clinically suspected liver lesion, abnormal laboratory tests such as LFTs, staging for malignant disease, already known malignant disease, now you want to see liver lesions, and suspected portal hypertension in a patient with chronic liver disease. In jaundice patient, ultrasound can give you idea about is this the cause is medical or surgical. So further investigations can be done after ultrasound. Ultrasound of the liver and gallbladder usually requires no preparation and there is no contraindication. Anybody can go for an ultrasound. It uses sound waves, so it has no radiation, it has no side effects. But if you want to see gallbladder, you will have to ask patient for 6 to 8 hours fasting. Otherwise, gallbladder will be contracted and cannot be visualized. Otherwise, no significant preparation is needed for ultrasound. These are some normal pictures of ultrasound liver. The first is liver showing hepatic veins. The black linear lines are the veins. The next picture is showing the portal vein and the hepatic artery. Third picture is showing red color within the portal vein. When we use Doppler, the vessels take up color. The last picture is showing gallbladder, which is anechoic, cystic, black inside because it has clear fluid inside and very thin walls. This is how a normal gallbladder looks like on an ultrasound. CT scan of liver and bleed history. What are the clinical indications of CT scan? Suspected liver lesion, again, you want to see any kind of primary lesion or a metastatic disease in the liver that you have picked on ultrasound. Now you want to further characterize the lesion. Staging of malignancy, right upper quadrant pain. Sometimes you don't pick things on ultrasound, you want to further investigate, you can go for CT scan. Follow-up after surgical or radiological intervention. Usually when liver pathologies are needed to be seen, you prescribe CT triphasic with contrast. I will tell you what it is. Contraindications, pregnancy. CT uses radiation, so it is not usually prescribed during pregnancy until and unless it is necessary for the patient's life. Otherwise, pregnancy is a contraindication. Allergy to the contrast medium that we used, any history of allergies to the contrast or any medicine or especially egg and fish, the contrast that we use in CT is not usually prescribed or a preparation of steroids is given. Patient preparation, we usually need 6 hours fasting before the CT scan. Investigations to be so this is how a CT scan liver and biliary system looks like. This is a normal CT scan. Again, the first picture shows you liver and then hepatic veins, which now are seen as white because they have contrast in them. The next picture show liver and then the portal vein. And the last picture shows you gallbladder, the cystic structure, the black structure. This is the gallbladder. As I said, we usually, when we want to see the liver or the liver lesions, we go for triphasic CT scan. What is triphasic CT scan? You don't need to, of course, know the details about it, but just to make you understand why do we need a triphasic CT for liver. Usually liver lesions show different kind of enhancement patterns after contrast administration. To differentiate between different kind of lesions, we need to have these 4 phases of liver. First is the plain phase. Second is the when contrast is given, again, immediately a CT is taken. Then a CT is taken 60 seconds after, and then a CT is taken 5 minutes after. So we get 4 images of one CT scan at different interval times. So we can further characterize a liver lesion. So when you are prescribing a CT for evaluation of liver lesions, you have to go for CT triphasic. Single phase CT will not give you adequate information. So always prescribe CT triphasic to see liver lesions. MRI liver. Again, indications are somewhat same. Ultrasound, if ultrasound and CT are non-conclusive and you further want to characterize the lesion. Contraindications, again, the general contraindications to MRI are there because it uses magnetic radiation and no X-rays are used, so it is safer than CT. But MRI patients, the contraindications for MRI are implants, again, sensitivity to the MRI contrast media. Early pregnancy, we usually avoid MRI. This is how liver looks in an MRI. Firstly is the T1 weighted images, second is the T2, and third is the T1 post-contrast image. You don't have to go into the details, it's just for your information to see, but you should know indications. Why are you prescribing MRI? Again, MRI is also usually done in a triphasic pattern for liver lesions. The most commonly used MR technique is MRCP. It is done for biliary tree. It is a highly weighted T2 weighted image in which bile appears white because you now want to see bile, so it appears white. What is the indications of this MRCP? It is obstructive jaundice. You want to see biliary stone or patient comes to you with biliary colic, suspected cholangitis, that is infection of the biliary channels, or chronic pancreatitis, in which you want to see the bile duct and the pancreatic duct, or the duct and the ductal stones. And MRCP is usually done to see the anatomy before going for interventional procedures such as ERCP and PTC. Advantages of MRCP are: it is a non-invasive technique, it is relatively cheap, no radiation is given, no anesthesia is given, it is less operator dependent, as ultrasound is a very operator dependent study. Ducts proximal to obstruction is seen. In ERCP, you cannot see ducts proximal to obstruction. Any extraductal disease can also be seen. If there is a lesion in liver, pancreas, or any in the abdomen, you can see it in MRCP. What are the disadvantages? Decreased resolution, less sensitive to subtle ductal disease, and it is not therapeutic. If you see a stone in MRCP, of course, you can just see the stone. You cannot get the stone out. This is how what a normal MRCP looks like. Again, if you remember the normal anatomy, the white structure is the gallbladder, and the channels that you see are now normal bile channels, right and left, within the confluence, and the CBD, which is draining into the duodenum distally. The small linear structure C distal to the CBD is the pancreatic duct. These are all normal structures because now the bile duct measures less than 3 millimeters. So this is a picture of a normal MRCP. Again, with MRCP, you can also see some source images in which you can comment about liver, gallbladder, kidneys, pancreas. So you can also see anatomy other than biliary system. Now, what is ERCP? ERCP is a technique that combines the use of endoscopy and fluoroscopy to diagnose and treat certain problems of the biliary or pancreatic ductal system. Now, in ERCP, you can not only diagnose but also treat them. Through the endoscope, the physician can see the inside of the stomach, duodenum, and inject radiographic contrast into the ducts of biliary tree and pancreas through the X-rays. ERCP is used primarily to diagnose and treat conditions of the bile ducts and the main pancreatic duct, such as gallstones, strictures, leaks, and cancer. It is done for diagnostic and therapeutic reasons. This is how ERCP looks like. An endoscope is passed through the mouth, like endoscopy is done for upper GI. Then, when an endoscope reaches the ampulla, a wire is inserted into the CBD and contrast is given. When the contrast is given, X-ray is taken to see the bile channels. Now, the contrast is outlining the entire biliary anatomy. So this is how ERCP is done. It requires general anesthesia. It requires, and it is an intervention procedure. Some kind of intervention is being done, so it has its own complications. But you can directly see opacification of the biliary channels, and if you find a calculus, you can remove during the procedure only. Percutaneous transhepatic cholangiography is basically a placement of the needle into a periphery biliary reticle under image guidance, followed by contrast imaging to opacify the biliary tree. Indications is to see the level of obstruction in the patient with obstructive biliopathy, to further evaluate cholelithiasis, cholangitis, bile duct inflammatory disorders, any kind of bile duct leak, and for draining procedures of a biliary tree. This is how this is performed. A needle is passed percutaneously. From the skin, a needle is passed directly into the liver, and then bile channel is cannulated and contrast is given. As you can see, this wire is coming from outside the skin. It is inserted into the liver and then into the bile channel, and then contrast is given, which is outlining all the bile channels, and level of obstruction can be identified. And again, if you find any stricture within this abnormality, you can, during the procedure, you can put a stent, and therapeutic treatment can be given during the procedure. So these were the few investigations that are usually done for liver and biliary pathology. So now we will go through few of the basic liver diseases that we see commonly during our work. First thing is diffuse liver disease, anything that is involving the entire liver parenchyma. Ultrasound is a best modality to see parenchymal changes. You can see hepatomegaly, generalized parenchymal changes, fatty liver, hepatitis, cirrhosis. In fatty liver, what we will see is this is the first picture is the normal liver, and then the second is fatty. You can see the liver has turned white. So this is how you see difference of parenchymal echogenicity on ultrasound. Next picture you see a normal liver and then a cirrhotic liver, in which now the liver is all coarse and high, looks more black with irregular margins and looks shrunken. So this is how parenchymal diseases can be diagnosed on ultrasound. So if you want to evaluate for parenchymal disease, you have to prescribe ultrasound. Chronic liver disease, it was one of the parenchymal disease that is very common in our part of the world. Cirrhosis is the word. The modality of choice is, again, first you will have to go for ultrasound to see the parenchymal disease and what is the basic anatomy going on. You will see irregular nodular margins of liver, shrunken liver, coarse parenchyma, and then complications that are leading to portal hypertension, which include esophageal varices, hepatoma, ascites, portal vein dilatation with and without thrombosis, and splenomegaly. All these can be seen with ultrasound, but after ultrasound, if you want to further evaluate liver and the adjacent structures, you can go for CT and MRI, especially to diagnose any kind of development of hepatocellular carcinoma. So first modality that you use is ultrasound. In this, you can see the liver is small with irregular margins. The black thing surrounding the liver is all ascites, free fluid in the abdomen. Again, these are a few pictures of the CLD patient, irregular nodular margins of liver with coarse parenchyma. Liver is now black. Portal vein is dilated. The third picture shows enlarged spleen, and the fourth picture showed there is flow within the portal vein. So this is how you diagnose chronic liver disease with portal hypertension on ultrasound. This is how it looks like on CT. Liver is again irregular, shrunken with irregular margins. The large white tubular structures you see in the center of the abdomen are the varices, and spleen is enlarged. And the hypodensity surrounding liver is the ascites. So this is chronic liver disease with portal hypertension. Now, if you find a lesion in the liver on ultrasound, focal liver lesions are the area of alteration of normal parenchyma. They can be cystic, solid, or complex. Cysts are the thin walls with clear fluid and are usually benign. Complex can be malignant. Solid have borders and outline. If you see multiple lesions, they can be abscesses, metastases, hemangiomas. So the modality of choice, again, first you will have to go for ultrasound to see liver lesions or liver pathology. Then for further characterization, you will go for CT and MRI. Simple cysts can be seen with common congenital and can be multiple, as such as in polycystic kidney disease. This is how liver cysts look like. The first picture is of ultrasound. It will be clear with in black, clear internal density, echogenicity. On CT, again, it will be dark, hypodense, with no enhancement. On MRI, again, T2, it will be high, and on post-contrast images, it will show no enhancement. Again, you don't have to go into details of it. It's just for your information how we differentiate between lesions. The thing that you should know is what to prescribe when you're suspecting an pathology. Liver hydrated cyst. It is sometimes indistinguishable from simple cyst. These can be multiple or solitary. Wall layers on ultrasound, calcifications, usually no enhancement is seen on CT or MRI. They may rupture into the adjacent structures, and internal fluid is usually proteinaceous. This is how hydrated cyst can look like on CT, MR, and on ultrasound. That is, it can have variable appearances. It can be very simple looking, and it can be very heterogeneous looking. So it is very sometimes it gets very difficult to diagnose it from simple cyst or a solid enhancing lesion. But when you see internal membranes like these, it is most likely hydatid. If you cannot differentiate, we usually prescribe IHA titer for further evaluation, because we cannot aspirate a hydatid cyst without diagnosis. If you aspirate the hydatid cyst, the patient can go into allergic reaction. So you have to be very, very sure that the needle that you are putting in is not into the hydatid. Abscess. Liver abscess is a very common pathology that it will come around. They can be parasitic, amoebic, pyogenic. Abscess may be solitary or multiple, variable size, shows internal echoes. These may calcify, these may show wall enhancement, and they are usually indistinguishable from a necrotic tumor. So diagnosis is usually done on clinical basis, because the patient with abscess will come to you with high-grade fever and abdominal pain and tenderness. Patient with tumor will not have fever or abdominal tenderness. Treatment is usually aspiration. This is how abscess looks like on ultrasound. It is internally low but heterogeneous. It has tiny echoes within it. And this is how abscess is diagnosed. On CT, it shows peripheral enhancement. Again, on CT, it shows peripheral enhancement, and on MRI, it appears predominantly cystic with peripheral enhancement. Liver neoplasms. Now, if you are suspecting, the most common thing in the liver is metastasis coming from breast, esophagus, rectal, colon, anywhere. So what are metastases are the most commonest tumor seen in the liver. They can be multiple, peripheral, or variable size. What is the modality of choice? Again, first ultrasound, then CT and MRI. They have a variable appearance on ultrasound, and again, variable contrast enhancement on CT. These are the multiple liver lesions seen on ultrasound. And then again on CT, multiple hyperdense lesion is scattered in liver. These are likely metastasis. Again, these are images, first images of CT, and then few images of MRI showing multiple lesions. Few benign liver tumors that you will come across is one of the most common is hemangiomas. When we find a lesion in liver on ultrasound, we should not directly go to the saying that it is cancer or metastasis. Hemangiomas are a benign tumor and they are very common. So we have to characterize them further after ultrasound. They may bleed, that's why biopsy is avoided. Simulate neoplasms on ultrasound, and on CT and MRI show centripetal enhancement. I will show you how this is. On ultrasound, these are usually hypervascular. They are echogenic. They appear white. As we saw in metastasis, they appeared black. But hemangiomas usually appear white. But again, they cannot be differentiated from metastasis or neoplasms. So what will you do? You will further go for CT triphasic as we discussed, or MRI triphasic. What will happen on CT triphasic? It will show peripheral puddling of contrast. The contrast will be seen in periphery. On the first image, on the first phase, the contrast will be seen in the periphery, and in the last image, on the delayed images, the contrast we will see to be filling in. So this is a typical hemangioma in which first image shows peripheral contrast, and then the delayed images show filling in of contrast. More contrast is seen within the lesion starting from the periphery. So primary liver cancer, similar to the secondary, can have variable appearances but are usually solitary. The most common primary carcinoma we see is hepatocellular carcinoma, which is usually seen with the background of chronic liver disease and again have varied appearances on ultrasound, like the one shown to you. So what will happen? If you see a lesion on an ultrasound, what will you do? It will have multiple DTs. It can be benign, hemangioma, adenoma, focal nodular hyperplasia, and it can be malignant like hepatocellular carcinoma and metastasis. You will prescribe a triphasic CT or an MRI. In our part of the world, CT is more common, so triphasic CT. Firstly, in the first image, first line, this is hepatocellular carcinoma, and then the second line, this is hemangioma. On the arterial phase for hepatocellular carcinoma, it will enhance, and on the delayed images, it will become black. On hemangioma, something of opposite will happen. In the first image, it will be more darker, and then the last image, it will be brighter. It takes up more contrast. So triphasic CT will tell you it is cancer or it is a benign disease. So going on to the GB and biliary system, cholelithiasis is 10 to 20% of the population has it. Only 30% are calcified. They can be of different pigmentations. Ultrasound is the investigation of choice for gallbladder stones. And then if you want to further characterize or see a filling defect, you can also go for MRCP. On ultrasound, they can be variable sizes, they can have variable appearances. MRCP, they are usually seen as filling defects. The first three images are of the ultrasound. You can see there are multiple types of gallbladder stones. They can be tiny, they can be single, they can be two, but what you see is there is black shadowing behind the stone. This is typical for ultrasound, and this is how the ultrasound diagnoses a gallbladder stone. Ultrasound can pick radio-opaque and radiolucent calculi, so the ultrasound is the best modality for gallstones. What you can do further is MRCP. In MRCP, you see tiny dots within the gallbladder lumen, and these are the calculi. Again, MRCP showing black dots within the gallbladder lumen, calculi. Choledocholithiasis is the same stones that now you see in the biliary channels. Now they will cause obstruction of the biliary channels. Again, ultrasound is a very good modality. MRCP can be performed, and ERCP can be performed as a treatment option as well. This is this gallstone that you see in ultrasound with biliary dilatation. This is MRCP image. You see a filling defect within the gallbladder and the CBD. So these are the calculi within the biliary channels. CT is not the modality of choice, but you can diagnose calculi within the CT as well. They are seen as hyperdensity within the biliary channel. And when you do a ERCP, they can seen as filling defects, and on MRCP again as filling defect. Cholecystitis is the acute inflammation of the gallbladder, in which gallbladder is distended. It shows thickened walls. The first picture is normal. Second picture shows thickened walls and with intraluminal calculus. This is acute cholecystitis. It is an emergency. Cholecystitis can happen without stone, usually in diabetic patient, and patient is usually ill. Chronic cholecystitis, in this, now the gallbladder becomes small and thick walled and usually associated with stones. Cholangitis is an infection of obstructive biliary ducts. Causes, again, multiple causes of cholangitis. There can be strict narrowing within the biliary channels, stone, any kind of cancer within the biliary channels will lead to infection of the bile ducts. Ultrasound MRCP for ductal pathology, and ultrasound CT MRI for cause and complications. Radiological features will show duct dilatation, stones, sometimes liver atrophy is also seen, complicated by abscesses and pancreatitis. This is how cholangitis usually looks like on ultrasound. Relatively thickened, dilated biliary channels. And then they can also be complicated with cholangitic abscesses, small peripherally enhancing abscesses within the liver. The cause can be delineated on ultrasound. There's a mass in the periampullary region leading to biliary dilatation and then infection. Gallbladder carcinoma. Biliary carcinoma, the fifth most common GI malignancy. It is associated with stones, porcelain gallbladder. In this, you see asymmetrically thickened gallbladder wall. There's no biliary dilatation, and of course, invasion of the liver and the adjacent lymph nodes can be seen. Again, the modality of choice, ultrasound, CT, and MRI. In this, you see eccentric lesion protruding into the gallbladder. On CT, you see enhancing thickening involving gallbladder with infiltration into the liver and the adjacent fat. This is how gallbladder carcinoma looks like. Cholangiocarcinomas are the cancers of the biliary channels. The most common is one, the hilar, which involves the right and junction of the right and left hepatic duct. It's called a Klatskin tumor, and it leads to dilated intrahepatic ducts. Again, ultrasound, CT, and MRI the modality of choice with MRCP images. Here on ultrasound, you see a heterogeneous, ill-defined mass within the liver. On MRCP, you see a narrowing at the level of confluence with intrahepatic dilatation. For further characterization, again, you go for CT triphasic. In this CT triphasic, you see increase in enhancement on delayed images. And this is how cholangiocarcinoma is diagnosed on CT. Again, MRI showing the same picture, increase in enhancement on delayed images with narrowing of the involved biliary channels with proximal dilatation. So the important thing for you people, I know it's a long lecture, but the important thing for you people to understand is what to prescribe. If you are prescribing, if patients come to you for jaundice, what do you want to prescribe as far as imaging is concerned? If you want to see hepatitis, you just go for ultrasound to see parenchymal pattern of the liver and see if any complications are there. If you are prescribing for cirrhosis, first go for ultrasound, and if further characterization is needed, you go for CT or MRI. Biliary obstruction, if you want to see the ducts, you go for ultrasound and then MRCP. But if you want to see the cause of the biliary duct pathology and the complications like abscesses, you will have to go for CT and MRI. Polylithiasis, again, stones in the gallbladder, ultrasound is the best modality, and for further evaluation, further MRCP can be performed. Liver lesions or metastatic disease or cholangiocarcinoma, any kind of neoplasm or cancerous disease related to hepatobiliary, you will have to go for ultrasound first, then CT and MRI for further characterization. So these are the two really important slides that you need to know, and of course, some basic information about ultrasound, CT, MRI. Other than that, diseases you of course don't need to know in detail. How do they look on ultrasound, CT, and MRI? This is beyond your scope. So yeah. So can you go for any questions?
हेलो मैडम, क्या एंड करें?
जी जी
जी
जी जी अरे क्वेश्चन हैं तो मैं आंसर कर देती हूँ।
चले वो चैटिंग में देखें, ये करेंगे ना।
जी जी
अभी तक तो कोई भी नहीं आया।
हाँ अभी तक